Hi, I'm Lloyd, and we're here at Colorado Learning Center of Human Anatomy, and we're going to be looking at just the amazingness of the human body. And we're going to have Andrew here doing a lot of our modeling, and we're going to be using our donors who've actually provided their bodies for us to study. And we're going to be talking today just from the outside in, looking at the skeleton of the upper extremity. Let's go ahead and get one of our donors out here, and we can actually see the bones of the upper extremity or the arm. If we look, we can actually see we are familiar with the bones of the body just by looking at the body. How does the body stack up? How does it build? We know what these things look like, but we don't get to see the things inside. Today you do. We have three bones of the shoulder, and the three bones of the shoulder here are the clavicle, or the collarbone, the scapula, or the shoulder blade, and just take a look at these. Look at the difference here. There's not going to be a lot of size difference, but look at what you see. If he takes this through movement, what is that going to look like? If we have Andrew take his arm forward, we see most of this motion comes from right here. This is a ball and socket joint. We've left only a couple of the ligaments intact, but the muscles are what fill in all the space. And so go ahead and take a swing through there and just see all of that is happening really between this ball and socket and this, the scapula coming up and coming down. The scapula, look at this. It's built like a propeller. It's moving through our body, and look how thin it is. That is almost diaphanous. And so we can see the light coming through the bone. That's how thin the bone is. And yet, despite its thinness, it is amazingly solid and tough. Scapula is amazingly hard to break because it's completely filled around with muscle. Just like we see on Andrew here, if he just does a little bit of movement, it's hard to see the bone, but you can really easily see the muscle. And so that's what we're looking at, is how the muscle relates around it. This is all held to the chest by a net of muscle. The muscle runs from the bone to the spine, the vertebrae, and it runs out into the arm itself. And so as we see that movement, we will see the muscles working. But again, the bones are not directly attached to the chest. They're all held in place by layers of muscle. If we come back to the front, we can see where the only place this attaches directly to another bone is right here at the sternum. And so the clavicle right here is going to attach onto the sternum. Every other attachment is just muscle. This is the only place, this one bit right here, where it's actually coming into another bone. If we come out to the shoulder, we have this ball and socket coming to the humerus. And this is a play on words now, because humerus is a Latin word that just means the upper arm. We get confused because if you were to whack your elbow right here, we think that's funny, as long as we're not the one doing the whacking. That's why it's called the funny bone, because instead of humerus as funny, it's a play across language. The humerus is the funny bone, and that's what gets whacked, but it's really the ulnar nerve that's getting whacked in here that's causing that really nasty pain when you feel it. When we look at this, the elbow, as this comes up and down, we also have the ability to rotate and move. And so we can see that. And let's take a look right here in the joint. As he's holding his arm there, we see this is actually, we've got this cut open. You can actually see the radius is the bone that rotates, and the radius lines up with the thumb. So as Andrew points his thumb and rotates in and out, that's going to be the radius doing the rotating. The ulna is the straight bone that just goes all the way to the wrist. So we can see here, as that's doing the rotating, the ulna is making a really tight hinge joint. And then that is going to give us the stability as well. So this is how we're able to do everything from a push-up to a pitch And that's going to happen, again, from the scapula, the ball and socket of the humeral head, to the elbow, the rotation. And between these two bones, you have this membrane of the interosseous membrane. And we have that intact with a little bit of muscle fiber still in place. And that's what makes the two bones so amazingly tough and resilient as we go through those ranges of motion. Down here, we have the wrist. Within here, we have carpals, 8 bones, 2 layers of carpals, 2 layers of 4 bones. And right here, you can see, if he were to pull up, you can see those tendons pulling up right there. Those are all running right through this slot. That's the carpal tunnel right there. And that's what gets compressed, and that's what causes pain and numbness when people do too much work. Oh, and let's show this. If you put your hand right there on the table, what's that gonna do? You're gonna see all of that is gonna compress those structures right into that little space right there. That doesn't give enough room for those tendons and blood vessels and nerves to really have the space they need. Yep, so look what Andrew is doing there. When he's there and he's doing that grasping, that is basically, you're running those cables, you're running those tendons and blood vessels and nerves through that small space, and you're compressing them at the same time. That is not the way to work. That's basically like trying to run an elevator cable over a couple winches and maybe around the block before it does what it's supposed to do up and down. As we go to the hand, we can see that we have 5 bones in the hand, and we number those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is not the way they number them for musicians, right? Because we always start with the thumb as 1, but a musician is going to start with 1 typically here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they sometimes talk about the thumb if there's a special occasion. That's usually because scientists and musicians, sadly, are not always on speaking terms. But we have, after the bones of the palm, those are the metacarpals, the 5 metacarpals. We now have the phalanges in the digits. The thumb has 2 phalanges. All the other fingers or digits have 3 phalanges. We see 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, and that makes 14. Let's do the math real quick. So 14 plus 5, that's 19, plus 8, that's 27. That's 27 bones. The average number of bones in a human body is 206. So that means in both hands, that'd be 54 bones. We have, dang, that's 1/4 of the bones of the body right there. So then 2 more in the forearm, 1 more in the shoulder, and then 2 more to finish the shoulder out to attach it to the trunk of the body. There we go. That's the basic idea for the skeleton of the upper extremity.